Live from iRacing's virtual Nashville Super Speedway in your Monday night with us here on RaceSpotTV with our producer Jack Johnson downstairs, along with Terry Radford and myself, Evan Pasoko. But thank you all for tuning in for tonight's race. And Terry, we're back after a week off. We're racing just outside of Music City in Lebanon, Tennessee this afternoon for a kind of middle ground-ish intermediate racetrack. This racetrack clocks in at 1.33 miles in length. It just returned to the NASCAR circuit last year with its first Cup Series date. Second time RSR is going to be go racing in Nashville tonight, and it should be an exciting night, right? The big point we've been talking about for the last few weeks isn't necessarily the tracks we've been going to, but when they've been falling on this schedule, right? We are starting to get a really clear picture of who's in, who's out, and that playoff cut line gets closer and closer with each passing week.
No, it absolutely does. And now this is a crucial part of the schedule because we leave here and we go to Road America, right? We're going to leave here, and whoever has a bad run here, you're staring a road course, a very technical road course in the face. I made a bold prediction last time we were on here at Gateway that Daniel Eberhardt had to win this race. I'm standing by that prediction that he wins in that Battle Beaver machine tonight, because if he doesn't, you could kiss it goodbye. I'm ready for some Music City racing. We got the Tennessee Titans on. You can't be in Nashville without Garth Brooks. And I got my Tennessee Britches on too, with the helmet back there behind me. So let's go Music City racing, boys.
It's going to be an exciting one. We could see maybe new winners. Of course, the story last time out 2 weeks ago at Gateway was Sam Nieto getting his first career win in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. You mentioned Daniel Eberhardt because, of course, he is a race winner from earlier this year in the season opener at Daytona, but he does not right now have the points necessary for that race win to count towards an automatic playoff berth. You need to stay top 25 in the standings. Something else that is going to make its RSR debut here tonight, Terry, is restart zones have been added and will be enforced on track tonight. So throw everything out that we always talk about, how leader goes on the green the first time and leader goes on pace car the second time. That is irrelevant. They are going on the Geico restart zone from the start to the end of the race, and the black flags and penalties handled automatically by iRacing. So you better have been practicing those rules over the last week, because if you do it wrong, you're going to find yourself with a one-way ticket to the end of the field.
Oh, yeah, and you're throwing people a wrench here because they've spent 11 races out here doing the same thing. Pace car comes off before, dips down pit lane, leader's gone. Checking out, gets that massive advantage, is about 2 or 3 car lengths away from the second place guy before they enter into one. You ain't getting that this time. And especially Nashville, you go in side by side in turn one, that bottom car has absolutely no room to mash the throttle off exit. You're pinched, and you're stuck there on the apron. And if you touch the apron, the field's going with you. So it's going to, you talk about new winners. There's 2 people right now, Kevin King, who heartbreakingly lost a race at Gateway, Agnell Phillip, sitting on provisional pole at the moment. Imagine them 2 going barrels deep on a second restart down into one, or the final restart going into one. You ain't lifting like they did in IndyCar in the Indianapolis 500. You sending that thing because somebody wants to win the Music City tonight.
It's going to be very important to nail it, but also not to screw it up. I feel like we're going to see drivers be a little bit timid early, and then as the night goes on, they'll start to play with what can I do, how early or how late in the box can I fire off. And again, those are all automatic penalties handled by the sim. Qualifying is drawing to a close now. 37 drivers will be taking to the green flag this afternoon, which means that nobody going to be sent home in knockout qualifying here for the 12th race of this 2022 campaign. Of course, I referenced the fact that this is the second time we will see racing here in the Music City in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. Brandon Bowie won this race last year. That race had 7 cautions, 11 different race leaders. Brandon Bowie, race winner, only led 4. So I think there's going to be some comers and goers here tonight as well. I think that it's going to be a race of strategy. Tonight's race, 120 laps up on deck, means that we'll be racing for a little bit under 200 miles of action here this afternoon. And again, right now, drivers in their final 60-second warm-up session before we get set to say, let's go racing. You mentioned Agno Phillip, Kevin King, 2 guys with a race win so far this season. They're obviously looking to improve on that. I think we're at the point where I'm comfortable saying that we are not going to have the race winners in the playoffs filled out, Terry. So points paying positions will definitely get to the postseason at some point this season. The question is how many. So you might even see some drivers not be aggressive in going for the race win, be conservative, cash out some race points, knowing that that is a viable option towards the championship.
I absolutely love that point, Evan, is the fact that you're right. You're not about to get somebody into the playoffs without a win. Like you're going to have some guys that come in there on points. Now, you can't leave Nashville in a hole. And I'd expect to see some of the guys on the cut line there. If they can gain a stage, or if they can gain a part of the race that doesn't really matter, like the first part, give up a little bit just to have some on long run speed, I think that's going to be huge. And I don't see a whole lot of cautions that's going to happen in this race. And I know I might be jinxing that before we ever start, but I don't expect these drivers to be overly aggressive, because this track is really difficult, and these next gen cars have proved you can't be too aggressive on exit, because they're just going to spin into the grass and your race is going to be over before it starts.
Well, it is about time to get started, so let's go trackside and take a look at your K-List Synthetics starting grid for the High Banks Podcast 200. Agno Phillip and Kevin King will start on the front row. They'll be joined alongside by Andrew Freenosh and Jeremy Miller in 3rd and 4th. Sam Nieto and Brandon Six will start tonight's race back on row number 3, but that's already a 1/10 of a second off of the fastest lap times of the afternoon. They'll be starting ahead of Michael Araya, Joseph Tice, Kyle Trudell, and Nick Silver, the top 10.
You got Tom Wetmore down there in 11th with Anthony DeBarro. That's an interesting one, DeBarro. Cody Harris in 13th, Sean Casto, Michael Johnson, Brandon Bowie, last year's winner, down there in 16th. Chris Rabel and Thomas George round out the top 18.
And you got William Schmidt, Timothy Johnston, Bradley Burke, Nick Cohen, you got Jared Weinmaster, Brian Chambliss through the halfway point of the field. Will allow the starting grid to continue to scroll on your screen. So tonight's race, 120 laps in distance, 1.333 miles per lap, means we're going to go racing for 160 miles of NASCAR racing here this afternoon from just outside of the Music City in Lebanon, Tennessee. Of course, as always, we're happy that you are spending your Wednesday evening with us here on RaceSpotTV. Pace car down and in, field in the hands of Agno Phillip as we say, let's go racing in the High Banks Podcast 200 at Nashville. And at the end of lap number 1, led easily by your pole sitter Agno Phillip, the battle for second will see Kevin King stay ahead of a fight between Jeremy Miller on the outside and the defending series champion Andrew Freenosh trying to make the inside work.
Yeah, I think Agno Phillip's the guy to beat already. He had a 10th over the top 5 across the board. He's already out to a 4/10 of a second lead. But to see Andrew Freenosh right there, he ran the bottom, very conservative line into 1, conservative line into 3. I went on his onboard on my end and was actually watching him roll the throttle a little bit, taking care of those tires. That's going to be the biggest story of this race with this concrete track is, A, it's old. iRacing scanned this a while ago. Like, this has been on the service for a minute, and it's going to eat the tires up. he's being very patient, very well, doing what Andrew Freenach normally does. Just sits back, lets everybody else burn their equipment up. He's going to rock it up there, and he's only got 3 more people to pass.
He's got no qualms with letting everybody else take care of the hard work for him, as moving down to the inside at 1 and 2 is the 13 of Jeremy Miller, and a pretty easy pass. Jeremy Miller now up 2 positions from the start of this race, but he has allowed Phillip to pull a little bit of a gap, your race leader, some 0.5 of a second ahead of everybody else on back. It's Freenach, then Nieto, 4-5. That's the back of this lead group, as Agnew Phillip tries to settle into a bit of a rhythm here this afternoon in Nashville. Worth noting, Harry Grindle scheduled to take the green flag, and this one did not take the start. So 36 drivers on track at the beginning of this race. At the back of the field, the likes of Daniel Eberhardt and Connor Horn did not take a time into qualifying, but it's also worth noting that Brandon Bowie, defending race winner, started way towards the rear as well. He is 36th on track of all the cars. So a couple of big names back in traffic and going to have to try to find their way through at a relatively short afternoon of racing.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised with Daniel Eberhardt and Brandon Bowie being back there in the back, that with Eberhardt being that close to the, being below the cut line and not having a chance to capitalize on his win, I really thought he was on track during qualifying. I don't know what he was doing. If maybe he was gauging his wheel. Sometimes drivers go out there and they didn't get a whole lot of practice, so you go out there, you scrub the wheel a little bit, make sure it turns right, kind of get yourself in that mentality. He's working through the field. At the moment, he's starting to make some passes, make some moves up to the front. I believe he's up to the 24th position, if my timing is correct here. He's making passes very easily on the bottom, but why take that chance? You're below the cut line. You could get caught up in somebody else's mess here. I'm surprised, but we'll see what the Battle Beaver machine does here in the early stages of this race.
He's going to have, I would think, to hope that this green flag run continues for some time so the field can get spread out and still he'll have ample opportunity to get his way through. You can see Madatsi Major battling with the likes of Grant Davis. That was back there in the low 30s. Meanwhile, up towards the front of the field, Andrew Freenach under fire from Sam Nieto. Freenach down 1. Of course, that was that early pass courtesy of Jeremy Miller on lap 1 of this race. Nieto's got a bit of a different look on his number 2 Shelby Cobra Ford Mustang this afternoon. He's ahead of Brandon 6, who's stationary. Michael Araya 7th, exactly where he started. And Anthony DeBarro, one of the bigger movers in the field. He's +4 in 8th position. Trying to catch up to these guys. There is his DeBarro Sliders number 27, ahead of a side-by-side fight. Kyle Trudell on the inside of the 5. Joseph Tice in the battle for P9.
Yeah, this test right here, that battle right there between Trudell and Tice, this is going to be the tall tale of what this track's going to provide us here this afternoon. You see the 5 rolled out of it, let 2 drivers go by, let Trudell and Tom Wetmore just roll on by on the bottom. How much rubber is going to get laid down here? Is the outside lane going to be the preferred in the latter parts of the run when the tire starts to decompose? You see the 5 able to really charge the corner, but he's going to have to back that up more than what Tom Wetmore is going to be able to do here. As you see the run off the exit of the corner, the 51 really charged it and was able to make it down the front straightaway, playing a little defense there, cutting to the bottom. I think this is going to be an interesting tale. How much does the rubber move up? Does the line progress as we go, or is everybody going to mainly stick to the bottom? In this kind of corners race like a short track, Evan, somebody's going to get moved eventually if they play defense that much. As, oh man, 3 wide into 3 don't work out too much.
And squeezed in the middle there, the 15 of McBride. It's the 90 of Eberhardt underneath. Schmidt's number 79 up against the wall. And Daniel Eberhardt, the big winner here, as the 67 of Connor Horn uses the apron to get down 3 wide again, off to 1 and 2, trying to take advantage of the bit of a cluster of race cars up the road from him. And to your point of this racetrack, somewhat racy like a short track, it's why I mentioned right off at the top, this is an interesting interesting intermediate racetrack, right? It's shorter than 1.5. It doesn't really race a ton like one. Certainly bigger, though, than a mile racetrack or some of the other tracks like at Iowa or like, say, a Richmond. So it is a unique track. Of course, the surface plays a big part in that as well. You can see drivers really don't want to be up past the midway point. You can see all of the darker colored rubbered in part of the racetrack where some of the rubber's been put down is all middle to low. Nobody really wants to go up and anywhere near the top side of the racetrack in 1 and 2, nor down here in 3 and 4. And the outside line has a chance to fight back, but the longer we get into this run, the better that bottom's going to continue to get in these battles.
Yeah, you tear your stuff up being out there on the outside. I mean, the 15 at the moment, Rhett McBride, he's working the outside a lot more than what I thought we would see early in this race. Yeah, he's getting a pass right there by the 79. But working the outside here, I've always found it in my very short racing time, is that when I go to the outside, I'm only going out there for one reason. Somebody's slow on the bottom. I don't want to tear my stuff up this early. We're 14 laps, about to be 15 laps into this race. If you go out there too early, you're the first one there. You have to brush off all the debris, all the marbles that are up there. You find yourself in a different little avenue because you see as we progressively go through this race, there's going to be more and more rubber buildup at the top of this track. And if you get out of the groove and get up there, you're going in the wall. This is an unforgiving track, whether you're on the sim, and you're going to see it in real life this week. Like, the moment a truck or a car gets out of that middle lane, it's over. You're going in the wall. Kyle Busch has hit the wall numerous times here because he tried to charge it and overdrive it. Seeing these drivers come through the back here, though, they've been fairly calm. I mean, a lot of 2x2, 3-wide racing, and that one right there, we got a little close, but we're going to talk about all that.
A little bit of a tight squeeze that time through. You're looking at Burke on the inside. His number 95 machine kind of stuck here middle of the road. And, of course, it's good to see the High Banks podcast colors on the number 29 Ford of Chris Rabel. Of course, tonight's race brought to you by our friends at the High Banks podcast. You can find them on Twitter to keep up to date with when they're going to be releasing new content. But, of course, you can listen to the High Banks podcast wherever you get your podcasts. So a big thanks to them for being a proud partner with us here at the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series and for having their name on the second race so far here in 2022. Rabel with a little bit of work to do. Middle of the road. He's looking up the road to a couple of battles, one of which sees the 4 of Nick Silver and the 6 of Thomas George side by side. There they are off at into 1 and 2. This one a fight for 14th and 15th. Both drivers have been headed the wrong direction, and quite the drive up the inside by the 4, nearly into the fence goes Nick Silver, but his aggressive efforts pay off as he's able to clear the 6 car.
Yeah, you're talking about these drivers slipping back, going the wrong direction. You have to start tonight. Your road to the playoffs, your road to a championship starts today. You can't wait until Road America because anything can happen on that road course. You can slip a tire off of 1. You can slip a tire into 3. And it's game over. Your race is over, your lap's over, and you're going to lose a freight train of positions. If you're going to set yourself up tonight, you have to be consistent. I mean, you see DeBarro up in the 8th place position. Trudell's having a strong run early in the race. Theus is having a strong run in 11th. You have to make that playoff push now. And it's a tough track as well to start your playoff push because, well, this is the first time for the next gens here at Nashville, and these drivers are learning. Well, one, Agnel Phillip is fast. Sam Nieto, showing what he showed us 2 weeks ago, Evan. He's up to P2, and he's actually closing in on the race leader. He's dropped it almost 0.3 of a second so far. It's down to 1.3. It was at 1.7 seconds.
Yeah, so it is starting to chip away slowly by slowly. Last lap, race leader Agnel Phillip with a 31.732. It was a 7.08 for Sam Nieto. So every lap, a couple of hundredths of a second quicker as we see the gap towards the front of the field inch in ever so slightly, lap by lap. But it has been Agnel Phillip in control for the opening 20, and just like that, we are inside of 100 laps to go in the High Banks Podcast 200. There's a good visual, the advantage for your race leader, Agnel Phillip. Of course, we've talked about what a season it's been so far for Agnel, a one-time race winner, 10th in the points otherwise, courtesy of that race win, 5th in the playoff points. His race came at Darlington back in May. I wouldn't necessarily say that Nashville and Darlington are sister racetracks, but maybe certainly more similarities between these two than others. And he does kind of like this moderately sized intermediate kind of racetrack. I think he likes the horsepower to downforce package that this next-gen car runs on these kind of racetracks. And just as we started to say, hey, Nieto was closing in at 6/100ths of a second back in favor of Phillip the last lap. So doing his best to try to manage that gap back to P2.
No, and you're absolutely right. But we've seen Agnell Phillip all season long. I'm not going to say dominated races, but he's been there, and it's been a mistake that's costed him. You know, look at the pit road speeding penalty the week prior to him getting his race win at Darlington. And then just week after week, he either got beat off the pit road, bad pit strategy where he pitted a lap too late or he pitted a lap too early and the other car caught him and passed him. He's been there. You know, it's down to 1.1 seconds, but I think Agnell Phillip is just really just testing the waters. Hey, I'm going to take off. Let's just chill out for a second. But 2 weeks ago at Gateway, this lineup was not the same, right? We wondered, where was Phillip? He was mired in traffic most of the race. Where was Freenage? He was mired in traffic. Lariah had a great run there. Brandon Six had to charge from the back and get up front. A lot of these drivers have found their sweet spot here in these next-gen cars on the 1 3/4 or the 1.5 or the 2-mile tracks. But there's some short tracks in the playoffs too, and I honestly think if you're going to win, you have to be great at all disciplines in this car alone, because last season, Gen 7 or Gen 6 car, you didn't have, very much, opportunity to go do it. And now you see the battle going on right here. Everybody's like pushing the corner a whole lot harder, and you got Freenage all over the back of Kevin King there.
He is all over the back of him right now. Kevin King, of course, started second. Didn't get much of a chance to fight for that once Sam Nieto got up to him on about lap number 3 or 4. And he is really now stacking up not only Freenage, but Lariah and Six as well. There is a trio off of the back bumper of the 31 Chevrolet, and this is the perspective looking back from Kevin King. He has that preferred lane. He's going to put it right down there on the yellow line. There's no surprise there. So what that's forcing Freenage to do is, if he doesn't want that dirty air, he's got to go about a half a lane up, right? He's trying to find something a little bit different on this concrete surface to get some grip. Again, different surface to what we're used to seeing at most intermediate racetracks. But when he opens up the door, you're going to find this. Here comes Michael Lariah to his inside.
That was a power move. That's a statement move. You think of what Lariah has done so far this season. He has not been the fastest guy, but he's been the most consistent driver. He hangs around top 5, top 10, and in the last little bit of the race, he goes out there and he pulls a little bit extra out and makes the car. He makes the car faster. The car doesn't make him. Oh, Brandon Six. That ain't how you get around here. He clipped that apron, man. He's digging. That's Brandon Six, though. He's got to get there. He's always got to make a move. He's not content sitting behind another driver. He wants to go up there and make more out of it. And that's the same thing with Lariah. That last little bit of a stint of a run, when you put 29 or 40 laps on the tires, that's when his skill set comes out, because he can drive a slick car. And that's the same thing with Brandon Six. They like him, all yawed out in the back. They want it to be sideways. They want to be able to mash the gas and drift it around here. And you just see that line he just ran. He arced it down in, and he's going to get a straight shot off of turn 4. That's going to be a big run into 1 if Freenage doesn't play defense.
Yeah, that's what Freenage is going to need to do here, as he went from being on offense to defense really quickly, and now is trying to deal with what Brandon Six can do. Brandon Six has been the shined out star of 2022, a 4-time race winner in Fontana, Phoenix, Bristol, and Charlotte. He is arguably the driver to beat in this championship, but after being stuck in P6, ironically enough, is trying to find a little bit extra here with 31 laps now in the works from Nashville. And again, do you go for the move on Freenage? Is Freenage going to try to wait, because now it's Michael Lariah trying to find a way around Kevin King? We'll see if he can be more successful than the 88 was.
Yeah, I think that Kevin King. He played perfect defense, and he's doing the same thing to Lariah. He's making him use his stuff up, searching that different lane that's going to tear him up. But I have to disagree with you. I do not think that Brandon Six is the guy to beat. I think that Sam Nieto or Agnell Phillip at this time, Brandon Six went almost to the grass there. I don't think that he's the guy to beat. I think that they've caught him. At some point in time in this season, Agnell Phillip and Sam Nieto, and I'll even throw Kevin King's name in the race, they have caught him and have understood what he did. He picked it up at the beginning part of the season, but as we saw in the real world, you had Hendrick Motorsports dominating the tracks on Sundays. And now here comes Penske. Here comes Gibbs. Everybody's starting to catch up to what he did. He's sitting there about 6th, 5th through 10th, every week. But he's lost something. There's a touch that he's lost, and I don't know if he'll find it soon enough, but I look at that leader. I think he's the guy that this championship's going to run through when it becomes playoff time.
Those playoffs going to get kicked off a little bit later this year, September the 5th at Darlington. Season opener for the postseason for the Elwood Design Southern 250. Still, if you include tonight, 9 races left to go until we get to the point of crowning a 2022 champion. You're looking at the 20 to Cody Harris, who's got a whirlwind of speed off of 2. Looked like he was trying to get to the outside of Johnson. Wasn't able to. Now he'll go underneath, and they'll go side by side at a battle for 13th and 14th. Down into 3, just can't really establish position. It was a bit of a late dive, and you really need the arc into the corners to help you out. Banking here at Nashville, 14 degrees. That is below average for a racetrack of its size. So that arc really necessary when you're looking for some of that lateral grip to help the cars rotate through the corner.
I thought when you said below average, you were talking about my Nashville Predators or my Titans. I totally spaced out on the track thing, but good point. We're used to below average things in Nashville and Tennessee in general. But yeah, you're right. You have to put some type of arc into the corner when you come here. I mean, you're starting to see these drivers work down. You saw Johnson go down to the apron, trying to make the pass on Wetmore. Now you're seeing the 39. He washed up the track, got to the center, worked it back down, was able to get on the gas. And this is going to be a massive run. Can he make anything happen down the back straightaway? Because now the 51, if he wanted to, he could have technically cut him off there, but it's early in the race. He gave him some slack. They know that pit stops are coming very soon. I would say within the next maybe 5 to 10 laps, we'll see a pit stop happen here. But who's going to drop the ball first? Is it going to be Freenage back there in 5th? Is he going to try to short pit this? Or is a driver a little further on back going to maybe try to flip some track position and, do what we've seen for the past couple weeks?
Well, we mentioned earlier, some of the big names starting towards the rear as Cody Harris will clear Wetmore down on the bottom. Wetmore having an all right run right now in 14th, but speaking of below average, I'd say that's below what we've been seeing out of the 51 car this year. So maybe the Tube Tech machine going to try to bounce up. Of course, he had a great result a couple of weeks ago at Gateway, but, caution free through the opening 38 laps of this race. There's plenty of drivers on the move. Daniel Everhart's up 18 positions. Rhett McBride's up 7. Horn 7, Eric Stanford 6, but those guys are all 20th on back essentially still. We don't see any big movers in the top half of the field. You got Nieto in 2nd, he's +3. Michael Lariah able to get around Kevin King to 3rd, he's +4, but no huge swings of the drivers in the top half of the field, at least at this point.
And I don't think you're going to, because you see what Daniel Eberhardt's done. He's gotten here, he's +18, but that's it. He stayed stagnant. Once you get single filed out here and you burn the tires up making your charge through the field, that's all you got. That's all you're going to have. I mean, Brandon Six is sit there right there in 6th place. Agnell Phillips, doing his own thing. I think he's almost to Margaritaville by now. There's just not a whole lot of movement in the top 12 alone. Like, you got some that are, Jeremy Miller's down 5. But, I mean, your loss is somebody else's gain, as you see some contact get made there between the 11 and the 21. A lot of smoke come off of that one. I really thought that 21 was going to go around when he caught him in the quarter panel.
Yeah, these things are sensitive when it comes to that, and a bit of a discussion over the radio now.
Oh, my
Listen, they're trying their best. They are doing everything they can. First silver on DeBarro, and then as they were discussing that over the radio, saying, I probably would have got Indy anyways, about doing it again off of turn number 4, but they hang on, and now Eberhardt, look out. Casto is all over the left rear of the 90 car, and I'll tell you what, I don't know how many more times we're going to be able to get away with moves like that.
I don't either. I mean, the 52, he's driving this track, and this is a driver's racetrack, and that's what I loved about Easter weekend in Tennessee. You know, growing up being a Tennessee native, I knew that Easter weekend, the Xfinity Series, which then the Busch Series, would always be at Nashville, and that was the perfect time to watch because everything shut down. You know, it was NASCAR time. The big names would come out. Carl Edwards come out and win. Stenhouse won. He's not that big of a name. Kyle Busch, you know, those guys would come out and run these races, and they always said at the end of it, this is what drivers do. And he's sending it. They don't care. Casto's just a roughneck racer, man. He sends it in. He doesn't care. He just has that fearlessness about him, and he's going to make that car stick, and that's what I love about watching him race.
And I'm curious, these are, I mean, not to compare Casto with Eberhardt, but these guys have got some personalities here. Daniel Eberhardt, certainly, I think, more so than most people in this series. And listen, he's not going to roll over and take this one. He tries again to get right back underneath the number 52 machine. Was not able to do so, but now he's got the run off of 4, going to follow him to the apron. And, I mean, you're just flirting with fire. Maybe gives him a bit of a shot there. Off and into 1. Now, there's a lot of these intermediate-esque racetracks that have that apron, right? Some tracks much wider than others. The apron is so thin here, Terry. I don't know how much of an advantage getting onto it actually gives you. I've only seen about a handful of drivers try it, but it is an option if drivers want to force the issue.
There's no advantage. I'll be honest with you. There is zero advantage. Oh, my gosh. Whew.
Well, that's one way to enter pit road.
It's one way to do it. Yeah, but he made it. That's all that matters is he made it. 21 gets on pit road, good. But hey, there's no advantage to me. Once you get down on the straightaway here, it's really flat. I mean, there's nothing to do. You can't. It's not like Auto Club or a Michigan where you have an opportunity to progressively go down the banking and pick up some speed when you catch that apron. But the one point about Eberhardt that ran through my mind the moment I saw him in the 52 of Casto making those aggressive moves to one another. Daniel Eberhardt's already had a suspension at some point in time in this season, and he still has penalty points against him. You have to be smart. Whoever's in his ear has to go, hey, listen, you're already flirting with disaster. Your win is potentially not going to get you into the playoffs, in which that's the way the system was made, win and in. He can't make a move like that. He can't go out there and dive it in and almost wreck him because he made a bad move on him or he didn't like it. You have to be smart in the situation, especially being this close to the playoffs. If he theoretically screws this race up, you can just take his playoff chances and just burn it because it's not going to happen after tonight.
And I think as we see the two machine of Sam Nieto now up to the 94 of Agnell Phillip, and for the first time this afternoon, new race leader just shy of halfway home. It is Sam Nieto who will take over the race lead after Agnell Phillip led the opening 46 laps of competition. And to finish that point on the likes of Eberhardt and others, Daniel is certainly somebody who could really use a good points night. He's probably the last guy who's going to take it easy in favor of a good points night. So we'll see what the driver of the number 90 machine can do as this race carries on. But now we'll also see what else happens with strategy here at this point in the race, right? I thought with a 120 lap race that if you wanted to go for the two-stopper, 40 was going to be your number. But we saw Eberhardt, we saw King, Six, DeBarro, and Johnson, all pretty big names, come down pit road. Kind of in between, right? Where I think most drivers maybe want to go to 60 to get halfway if you can do it on fuel. But Chris Rabel's number 29, High Banks Podcast, Mustang is in. So we're going to have to wait and see when everybody else decides to join them.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised at some of the names that did come down and pit that early, because there is an advantage. It's a very big advantage. I mean, I'm looking at the lap times that came down. It was a 30.83 for Kevin King compared to what Sam Nieto's running. He's running a 32.0. But a big point here. We've caution-free, knock on wood. Right? And 50 laps into the run, if these, yeah, knock on wood hard.
Listen, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I don't need this. All right, I don't need another one on me. I'm flirting with a penalty myself. But Agnell Phillip has dropped drastically. I mean, he's running pretty decent laps, but he's also in the draft, right? So hey, we have that opportunity to see what Nieto, coming off a hot streak. There's no rollover from that week off from him. He gets his first win in RSR competition, and boy, was he ecstatic when he got that win. He comes into Nashville, and he's like, I don't know. I'm not that, don't know what I'm going to do there. Well, how about chasing the leader down, who dominated the first 46 laps of this race, the first third of the stint? He goes out and dominates, and he just walks up there and passes him, and he's leaving him. He's leaving him on some old tires. And Kevin King he's coming through this field. He's running 31 flats. He's a full second faster than these leaders.
Kevin King, of course, spearheaded the effort. He and Eberhardt are the lead cars amongst those who have pitted. So your net leader, Kevin King, second, I should say, to net race leader Daniel Eberhardt. Of course, that's assuming that even though they didn't pit from the race lead, once everybody else pits, they will go to the lead, because as you mentioned, those fresh tires means they are much quicker. They're both running 30.8s. Your race leader, 32 flat. Agnell Phillip, 32.2, 32.3. I mean, Nieto is really impressive at the long end of this run, but again, it's still less than a quarter of the field that has come down and gotten service already. So my question is, I would assume they have to be good to the end of this race, right? That's about a 70 lap and change stint, but I feel like if you were going for 2, you would have wanted pitted earlier. But if you were going for 1, optimum time might have been a little bit later, right? We're 7 laps away from halfway home, so they're really needing to push Eberhardt and Kevin King on these fresh tires right now. Push hard, gain the track position, because of course you're going to be on the opposite end of who's got the better rubber later in this run.
And you know what screws strategy up worse than anything else in the world?
Don't say it.
I'm not going to say it.
But I know.
You know what I'm saying. That's going to mess up a strategy. And these drivers are trapped a lap down, mind you. Now, granted, Kevin King is getting very close to Sam Nieto to unlap himself, and so is Brandon Six. But you got to go pretty far ways to find, one of the bigger contenders that came down and pitted that could potentially get it. If King and Six both pass the leader and that magical flag decides to come out, well, those two look like geniuses, but then they're also going to look crazy, because they can't come down and pit too. They can, but you've lost all that track position. You would have to stay out, pray for another one to come out, but you need to happen 10, 15, 20 laps after, so that way you're back in the advantage. You can't have a net loss here. As you take a look here at the 90, he's in a bit of a hornet's nest. He's a bit of a hornet's nest here. He's flirting with disaster. He's got him up in front of him and all by his lonesome, but if he keeps slipping back, he's going to be in a world of hurt.
Well, that's the other challenge, of course, for drivers who come off of pit road, is the fact that you're going to be in heavy traffic. But the big significant issue for Eberhardt, of course, is a second trip down pit road essentially takes him out of this race. I don't know what the mistake was the first time through. I'll try to look back and see.
He drove through it. He missed it.
Completely
missed it.
So that'll do it. Typically getting onto pit road's going to be the challenge, and the only thing I can think of, I mentioned that Daniel Eberhardt did not take a time in qualifying, Terry. My thought is, this is a guy that's used to qualifying top 10, right? By driving through it, I wonder if he wasn't expecting his pit stall to be that early on pit road, just based on the fact that, again, he didn't qualify, so he was given 35th. And just didn't even think about it until he was past it, right? That muscle memory of driving further down pit road probably meant that he completely forgot about it until it was too late. And, you're going to lose plenty, at least 41 seconds per trip down pit road. And at a racetrack like this, that means he's about a lap and a half behind everybody else. That's tough. That is a big blow to take. especially given what we were just talking about all night long, a guy that really needs points.
It is tough, and you're right. Muscle memory is the way to think. I mean, we all collectively in the booth, producer and all, had a collective sigh that a mistake. Oh no! I did it! Oh, I didn't jinx it. You can't put that one on me, but that's tough because that trapped a ton of vehicles a lap down. And who looks smart here? I can't name one because the people that pitted, well, they're kind of trapped. And the only one that might look smart here, Daniel Eberhardt missing his pit stall. Well, he can take the wave around here because everybody should be on pit road here, even the guys that just pitted.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? For Kevin King, it could be seen as okay for him because he was still on the lead lap, but he's probably going to want to pit anyways. Let's take a look at what happened for Eric Stanford, who I believe was coming down pit road. But watch right here, when he gets on the brakes, he moves up. And Tom Wetmore probably would have missed him if it wasn't for that lockup. And that lockup moved him up the hill into Wetmore for the first caution flag of the afternoon. Eric Stanford will claim responsibility for the yellow, so he'll receive an end of the longest line of penalty. And I think you're right. I'm expecting wholesale service this time. Agno Phillip leads down pit road with Sam Nieto.
Yep, Kevin King's in, Connor Horn. Let's see if Lariah comes in. Brandon Six came in. Everybody on pit lane. You can't throw yourself in la la land because that happened. You have tires in the pit. You're still on strategy, right? You could go the rest of this race theoretically without having to do anything. Obviously, Agnell Phillip is going to drive off a pit road first because he's the first pit stall. But well, I'm not going to say that this is an opportunity for people like Sean Kalis, Manazzi Major, guys like that who were trapped a lap down because of it, to go take the wave around and start in the back, pray for another one to come out, and then come down and take your tires, and then you have an opportunity to be back. But this is an absolute lifesaver for Daniel Eberhardt, because if he took the wave around, which I would believe he would have, he was only on 3-lap-old tires, that puts him 1 lap down. Everybody else takes the wave around. He would be the first car 1 lap down in the event of a caution, and there's 2 coming down, but there's 3 that will take the wave around here along with Daniel Eberhardt. So this is going to be an interesting challenge on how he's going to manage his race from here, because no more mistakes. You can't have them, and I hope he's listening. Stop making mistakes. You got to get in the playoffs.
And it does look like he'll at least get to being 1 lap down, so that is a step in the right direction. I think the big loser in all of this is Kevin King, right? So Eberhardt obviously had his own issue. It was him and King leading the charge on the drivers who had pitted. However, Eberhardt had to go back down pit road because he missed his stall the first time. Kevin King was set to become the net race leader. Kevin King pitted from 4th position when he come down pit road on lap number 45. He was able to drive back to the lead lap, but again, could not just simply stay out because he was on 16-lap-old tires, right? He pitted 16 laps before the yellow came out. So if he had stayed out, he would have been well off the pace, Terry. So he's forced to come down pit road, and instead of cycling to back out either to the race lead or to 4th, where he was before his pit stop, Kevin King now finds himself in 17th position. Now, he can drive through the field. I have no doubt about that. But in the second half of the race now, with less than 60 laps to go, that is a significant setback for Kevin King.
I mean, he's fast, but fast and traffic don't mix. It's like somebody going down 65, to throw a Nashville reference out there, going on 24 west, and you have the fastest car because you got a Dodge Charger, and it's all souped up with massive pipes down the back, and it's straight pipes and it's loud. I mean, okay, that traffic doesn't care. None of these drivers care that Kevin King's back there. Same issue with it 2 weeks ago at Gateway. Got caught by an untimely caution, and he didn't want it, but it happened. This time, he's gonna have to be on offense for 90% of this from 17th. Do I think he's gonna go back to the front? Is he gonna get there enough time to catch the leader? I don't think so without at least 2 more cautions to come out. He's going to be somewhere top 5 towards the end of this run. But if we stay green, I would say no chance, to quote, a theme song in wrestling, there's no chance he's going to win this race.
So Stanford's going to get the end of the longest line of penalty as we see now the first time in live action the restart zone. Agnew Phillip cannot restart this race until he gets to the restart zone. Look for the white lines indicated on the inside and the outside of the racetrack. Once he gets into the box, then he can decide to go. Green flag back in the air. 57 laps to go in Nashville.
He timed that thing perfect. You were right. He was a little cautious. He's like, wait a minute, did I pass the white line? Maybe. Are you sure I passed that white line? And he just barely went with, like, I don't know, maybe 2-3 feet before the end of it, because he didn't know. With this battle for second, I told you, somebody's going to get aggressive here. And I don't want to be side by side with Freenage or Nieto, who now has nothing to lose. Freenage, he's going to take a peek at the lead for a second.
And Freenage wants a little bit more here. Phillip defending. Remember, Phillip took the race lead back from Sam Nieto, courtesy of the #1 pit stall that he got from qualifying on pole position. But it might be worse for the 2 car if Freenage can make this happen on the bottom. Nieto's going to nose in front. Again, the bottom seems to be the place to be once you've got the tires heated up. But on a restart, the outside can fight back, and they are nose to nose right now in the fight for second. Agnew Phillip would love to try to get away as this battle for second continues on. Behind them, Lariah sits in the #4 spot, and Joseph Tice now in 5th.
Yeah, I keep saying that I don't want to be the guy on the outside in this position, especially against a guy like Andrew Freenage. Him being down on the bottom, he has an opportunity to really get on the door. You should take a look here on board with the 44. He has a bird's eye view here. Nieto loose through the corner. That's another part that I'm talking about. He doesn't have the drive off that he wants. You can come up, you can side draft, you can scare that driver going into the corner that you're not going to make it. You're not going to have your line. As Freenage takes a straight approach, you see Nieto, he doesn't have that sweep that we were all mentioning earlier on in this broadcast, where you could kind of drive down the track a little bit, pick up maybe a mile and a half an hour through the corner. Doesn't have that. He has a car to his inside. So now he has to work it to where he's going to want to get back on the throttle earlier to make that time up, that time delta down there from the bottom. There's a lot more here because the lap times show it, but that time, Nieto's flying up here on that outside.
And he is moving up top right now, and not only is Agnew Phillip not getting away, he's getting closed in on Nieto to the bumper. Nieto to the inside. He's clear for second. He wants to go for the race lead. Sam Nieto underneath. Agnew Phillip goes back to the race lead at lap number 68, and now the fight behind for second as Freenage gets under the 94 car.
We went from watching Nieto dang near go sideways to I want the lead. Just kidding, boys. Gets a powerful run off of 4 and just sent it in there. These guys are fearless. One restart, they have one caution flag come out, and the next restart's just absolute chaos with the top 3. What can Phillip do on that outside? Because we saw the competition. If they stay side by side for too long, Nieto's fast enough, in which I didn't think he was going to be this fast on the short run because he had the longer run car, but they can't let him get away. He's already pulled away 0.4 of a second and gaining. He's just pulling away here. Or what's Lariah going to do? Is he going to yank down there and pull her 3 wide into 1 maybe?
Maybe a little bit more patience out of the Sim Speed Shop Chevrolet for the moment, but we'll see. Can never be too tempted. His will may be pushed by the 5, right? If Joseph Tice keeps putting the pressure on him, then maybe Michael Lariah going to be a little bit more enticed to make a move sooner rather than later. But right now, this battle for second is just slowing all of them down. And Agnew Phillip, remember, was unable to pull away as the race leader when it was Freenage and Nieto fighting. But now that it's Freenage and Phillip fighting, it's Nieto pulling away. As tell you what, the 88 and the 94 just about swapped the layer of paint that time in the center of 3 and 4.
Yeah, these two right here, I would say if you were to get into a fight, right, and you're fighting next to these two, the way they drive on the track, I don't want to fight neither one of them, because one of them is liable to knock some teeth out. You see this awesome camera shot here by our producer. Look at the run that Agnell Phillips going to get down here. He's going to get all back up to the door, put it into 3, and you know, Freenage is going to get the run because he's got the bottom. He's got the preferred groove to go. You see Phillips starting to get a little bit sideways there, but he's going to start to get more momentum as they go down the front straightaway. When they go into 1, the top speed on Phillips going to be a little bit more, so he has to back it down a whole lot more. And he washed up just a tad bit. Didn't stay right there on the yellow line, but he gets a powerful run, center off, and that's what you look for here. Well, the fight's back on. Because he wants to go to the bottom of that Battle Beaver machine.
He's going to go underneath the 88 machine of Freenage, and again, trying to force his way through all of this. About a half a second in the shadows of Sam Nieto, who is comfortably taking over control of the race lead after making the pass on the Bernardi 4 machine. Again, the more they go side by side, the only further away Nieto is going to get, the only more so these drivers are going to tear up the tires out of both the 88 and the Bernardi 4 machines. Still watching on patiently, Lariah 4th, Tyson 5th, and they're bringing some more drivers in on the action. Cody Harris and Jeremy Miller not too far back either, running in 6th and 7th position. 46 laps left to go in the High Banks Podcast 200 from Nashville Super Speedway. And Sam Nieto's looking good. Does Phillip finally have a nose in front enough? No. Freenage just will not let him get clear.
These are two drivers that they could sit here and go side by side for 45 more laps, and I guarantee you they won't put a wheel out of place. Neither one of them are into making mistakes. I know they make them sometimes, but that's not the person that you pinpoint and go, if you're side by side with one of these two drivers, you know, you're more than likely going to get pushed and shoved out of the way. Nope. That time, Freenage is going to tuck right in front of Lariah there. But you talked about it earlier in the race, Evan, that a lot of these drivers have to come in here and they have to points race at some point in time. There's a lot of drivers right now. You see Kevin King back up tonight. He doesn't have to points race. He's win or lose. That's all he is. He's bust if he doesn't win in his mind. He wants to go take every checkered flag. But there's guys in here, Jeremy Miller, good solid points run, keeps him up there. You talk about Tice. He stays up there in the 5th place position, working his way with a good points night. Same thing with Cody Harris. He's been the model of consistency all season long. We talk about him. Cody Harris is the real deal when it comes to coming out here and competing with the big dogs.
And just look at this midfield, goes to show you, more than a dozen laps removed for the restart, just nobody can get separation. Tail end of the top 10, tail end of the top 20, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to go all the way back to 25th before there's more than 0.5 of a second between two trucks in the running order. There's a dive to the inside. Is it the 25 of Brian Chambliss trying to get underneath the 15 of Rhett McBride? That's a battle for 15th and 16th position. Just behind them, Thomas George in the 6 car, making a move in clear of Grant Davis in the fight for 17th. But these drivers already more than 3 seconds off of the drivers at the very front of the field. We talked about the struggles for Kevin King, by the way, right? Getting stuck back in traffic and how he was going to struggle to get his way back through the field. He's back in the top 10 to P7. So the 31 car working hard after that yellow flag.
Hey, these are some weird looking trucks, Evan. You sure you got some sleep after that London trip?
Listen, it's Tuesday night truck action, all right?
Yeah. We've skipped night so many times. You honestly made me believe it was Wednesday. I was like, I've missed a lot.
Yeah, listen, that's the key. You just got to sell it either way, right?
Yeah. I mean, it works. It's like selling a good wrestling move, like Shawn Michaels against Hogan.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm thinking trucks because I'm looking forward to the truck race this weekend at Nashville, right? Looking forward to going on Friday and Sunday. So just getting my my necessary NASCAR plugs checked off so the paychecks go through. That's
it. That's a good sell. I need to call WWE or AEW for you. You might be a guy on the mic. I
think they deserve you some commission. I think you're up for. I think they owe you for all of the references and the hints that you drop on these shows to wrestle. I think you could be on commission for them.
I drop it like the people's elbow. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for the people. I'm here for everybody.
I'm gonna pretend I understand it. I'm just gonna say absolutely.
You need to go watch the people's champ. Like right now, Brandon Six would be RSR's champ because he's up to the 9th place position. He's all over the back bumper of Jeremy Miller. Which, by the way, there's some pretty good-looking race cars out here there's some pretty good-looking truck cars out here this afternoon.
Tell you what, I do like the understated, if you will, look of the life of a sim racer, number 66 Chevy, Brandon Six. Listen, I'm a sucker for some matte on a race car, and it's a good-looking 66 car, but it's been a bit of a weird night for Brandon Six. Looking to the inside, thought maybe he dared go 3 wide, does not. He's just watching Jeremy Miller and Kevin King go at it, and Miller, the opposite of an understated paint scheme, and that number 13 machine is through and clear, so Miller takes possession of the number 7 spot. But, I mean, he's kind of been stuck in this top 10 mid-range. Same with Brandon Six, who started in 6th position, is down in 9th at the moment. So it's been kind of a weird night for these guys, Six especially. And listen, if we're talking about a P9 being a subpar performance for you, you're having a really good year. And that's absolutely true for the driver of the 66 machine. 10 top 10s in 11 races in 2022, but I can promise you he wants a little bit more, and there's ample opportunity to make passes, but there's also ample opportunity to get past right now. Silver, Johnson, Bowie, Chambliss, and DeBarro even, all within a stone's throw of the 66 car right behind him.
Yeah, I would personally, I would take a P9 any day of the week. When I get a top 10 in a league race or something, I am absolutely elated. I'm doing burnouts on the back straightaway with somebody. But you see Silver right here giving the 66 a chance. What did I say? With Kevin King, I said coming up from that position, he's going to sit there in around, maybe 5th to 10th. He burned him up. He came charging through the field. He was really throwing down some absolute heaters. Heater after heater, like the Braves winning streak. It comes to an end at one point in time. He got to the back bumper there. He had Jeremy Miller on his back bumper, and now look, conga line of cars. There goes the 4. There goes the 34, Brandon Bowie. He's going to get down there in that, I would say, 2 beautiful cars here with the Ford Mustang and the Toyota. A little bit of contact was almost made there with Bowie. Wasn't too big of a fan of that one, but yeah, they're getting close.
Yeah, they know it's about go time. We are almost at 3/4 distance in this High Banks Podcast 200. The next time by 33 laps going to be left to go from Nashville Super Speedway. You're not missing anything at the front of the field. Sam Nieto's still leading, but I will say, if you look at the KaylaSynthetics.com leaderboard, the interval has started to close. Phillip and Lariah have been applying pressure. Nothing to report on yet. Look at this fight, though. Andrew Friedrich and Joseph Tice going to go at it for 4th and 5th position. It was the 44 Lariah, I should say. They made a pass to the inside of Friedrich a lap ago, and trying to avoid losing 2 spots at as many laps as Andrew Friedrich, fighting back up top where he knows that Battle Beaver Ford Mustang could be stubborn. But I'll tell you what, I think the momentum in favor of Joseph Tice in this fight, we'll see as it carries on for another lap.
I'm still curious that the high lane really hasn't came in to this point in this race. Not a whole lot of drivers have went out there and really laid rubber down. You see a darker shade down at the bottom wrapping that yellow line. But I was honestly thinking that some of these more aggressive drivers were going to go up there and maybe get 10 or 15 of them that just work that outside groove in. And maybe if we had 20 or 30 extra laps, somebody might have tried it in the first part of the race before the caution came out, or the cycle of pit stops. But it's been a mainly bottom feeding track, which is surprising for Nashville. I would have thought that we would have extended the groove just a tad bit. And to see Brandon Six and say that 7th place is a bad night, it's not. But now you got the battle between the 12 and the 24 here. There's racing everywhere. Davis and Cato, they've been putting it on for the past couple laps side by side, and here comes the get wet machine too. The 95's having a strong run.
It has been a good second half of the race for Bradley Burke. He started in 21st position and has been progressively moving his way closer and closer to the front of the field right now at 4, but Connor Horn behind him started 36th. He's up to 18th, so Horn, the biggest mover out of anybody in the field, just now cracking into the top half. You got the 12 Cato up there. There's Horn's number 67 just behind. You got Casto back there as well. Bit of a four-way soiree for 20, I'd say 16th on back to 20th position or so if you want to include Thomas George in that battle. But with 30 laps to down, with 29 laps to go at Nashville, again, we assume that yellow towards the midway point of the race kind of eliminated the strategy. It hurt some drivers who had made their strategy plays earlier on in this race, and now everybody's seemingly committed to go to the end on this tires and fuel set.
Well, I mean, the race for the one lap down cars has swapped. Eric Stanford is now the first car one lap down, so if the caution comes out, he gets the wave around, which puts Daniel Eberhardt second to him. So honestly, if I'm one of those two drivers, you're praying for the yellow, but then you have to pray for another one, and then you have to pray for another one to maybe get you back on the strategy. But it's simple. Pit crew is sitting on the bus. Nobody wants to come back out, but if there is a caution, you're going to come take tires. You're absolutely going to have to. Some of these drivers back here in the back, if it's within 5 or to go, or a green-white checkered, might play the strategy like we saw at Gateway. You might see 5 or 6 decide to stay out, but not a whole lot are gonna stay out here on this racetrack, because they're gonna get eaten up really fast, especially off the exits of the corner. But Lariah applying some pressure here to the back of Agnell Phillip. This is shaping up to be a darn good battle. It's gonna be a barn burner to the end, because the 44. He wants more, and he's definitely digging the center off. He's coming.
And watching on behind Freenosh is the likes of Harris, 6 and silver. They are just a little bit too far back to be in this fight. They're the in-betweeners. Can they do something to get up into the battle amongst the top 4 and the top 5 and contend to win this race here tonight at Nashville? Nieto's advantage, still a half a second. It's a lot better than the 0.2 of a second it was about 5 laps ago. So was Agnell Phillip into aggressive? The thing for Phillip was, of course, remember, he led the first 40-some-odd laps of this race, but got past at about this point in the stint earlier on. It's when the 94 starts to fall off. That's when Nieto was able to go to the race lead originally, and I can't help but thinking, Terry, that the same thing is happening, that Phillip is struggling a little bit on the longer end of this run, and that's why Nieto's been able to build his gap back up a little bit, and it's why apparently you can see Lariah held up behind him.
Yeah, he's absolutely crushing him in 1 and 2, and that's Phillip, of course. He's crushing Nieto in 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 is where you really want to make your money. That's when you want to go out there and you have to get the good run down the front straightaway, because that's going to set you up for the other half of the track. Lariah is doing a better job in 3 and 4 than Phillip. You see 1 and 2. He gets up closer to the wall every time. He's inching closer and closer to it, lets him go, and now here comes the 5 machine. He's going to dive it down in 3 and 4, where Agnell Phillip has struggled greatly. He catches the wall there. It has not been his corner. Past 40 laps, it's non-existent there. Something is just majorly wrong, whether it's his line or his just drive off the corner in that 94 machine, but something's upsetting that car right now.
And he better learn what it is, because, struggling on the second run. Typically, of course, you use that first green flag out of the run, to feel it out, to see how the car's going to react. Short into a run, middle stint, long stint. And, yes, a yellow did end the stint. Should have had a pretty good idea of what to do with it. But I wonder if taking the race lead on pit road under the yellow kind of forced him, Terry, to drive it hard, much like he did to start the race initially, and likely tear away a little bit at those Goodyear Eagle tires to put him into the exact same scenario. He may eventually fall back into the clutches of Andrew Freenosh at 5th, and then the other drivers that I mentioned, Harris, Silver, 6, running 6, 7, and 8 on the track right now. Just a little bit too far out of this battle to be in it, but now that Lariah's clear, can he get to Sam Nieto? That's going to be the big question. 20 laps to go next time by means he'll have ample opportunity to do so.
Well, they have opposite ends of the track that they're good at, but a big point that I kind of saw when we put the ticker up here and we were able to see just about 20 laps ago, we saw the 94 and the 88 side by side for second when Sam Nieto made the pass for the lead and cleared, right? They were sitting there side by side, running the outside, running the bottom, crossing each other up, doing everything they could do to make it work. Turns 1 and 2 have been the playground for Sam Nieto. Turns 3 and 4, you saw Lariah. He worked it down to 0.3 of a second, go back through there, he gains another tenth of a second. They are almost 0.2 down that one, but they come down the straightaway, we'll look going into 3. A little more of a shallow entry for Nieto, but a more aggressive for Lariah. But he also has pressure. Pressure builds what a driver can do on a racetrack, and that's why I said Nashville's a driver's track. You get pressure, the tires are hot and slick, back end wants to move around. You really have to drive the cars, and you have to overdrive and underdrive at the same time. And I know that sounds stupid, but you do. You see a driver coming down pit road here. That's the 11 machine. What happened to him?
Interesting. David Cobb did not pit under the yellow when everybody else did. He stayed out to take a wave around. So just watch that number, 51 laps until he eventually had to pit. The driver out there now who's been out the longest is Chris Rabel in 27th. He's been out for 54, but if that's the ballpark of your number on fuel, which would seem short, then nobody up here could make it, because everybody who pitted under the yellow has been out there for 42 laps. You're going to need to be able to go nearly 60 to go to the end of this thing, which I would think is doable. So the only thing I can assume is maybe David Cobb was not in a battle for position and figured he'd come in, get it topped off, or maybe decide to park the race car. But certainly old tires, cars out of control, maybe he didn't want to be at risk of causing an issue. So I'll see if, William Schmidt, if Chris Rabel, if they can't get to 60 on their stints, it would be cause for concern for the leaders. But you have to think inside of 20 laps to go, Terry, if there was any question as a group on if we'd be able to go to the end on fuel, that certainly we would have seen high drivers in the running who would have come down to the pit lane by this point. So I would take that to assume that it's an unscheduled stop for David Cobb and that everybody should be able to go to the end of this race.
I'm going to grab my thinking pen. Yes, I do have a thinking pen. Roughly this part of the run, not too long ago, it seems like forever ago, that we saw that magical rag flying in the air over this field, slowing them down to about 45, 55 mile an hour. We're getting to that point to where drivers are getting a little bit more antsier and antsier. As you see Kevin King trying to battle up for a position here. This is go time. You're starting to see more blocks being thrown. You're starting to see drivers get a little bit more aggressive when it comes to entering the corner. They're diving it in, drive it just a little bit deeper. And these older tires, as you see Kevin King here, he's starting to wash up the track a little bit. Right on that quarter panel, and contact's made there. There goes the 39 of Johnson. He's going to go to the bottom here into 3. This is the part of the run where it gets sketchy.
And side by side off the corner, you go on board with Kevin King trying to race his way through the field after getting caught out on the pit cycle earlier in this race, trying to get his boosted Chevrolet around Johnson. Johnson bobbles, pushes up a little bit at the Bar Racing Network Mustang, and that may be the opening that Kevin King needs to get all the way clear, slices down in front. What a move as Kevin King going all out in the battle for P10.
I'm just throwing it out there that there was some contact to that back bumper. If somebody's not happy with somebody else, story of Nashville's life. We're in the home of country music, so somebody's going to walk out of here with a heartbreak, and somebody's going to walk out here with a really not lovey-dovey country song, but a hard rocking country song, and somebody's walking out of here with the old Hank Williams Sr. and a little bit of Willie Nelson. Who knows? Somebody's got something on their mind, and we're going to find out what's on their mind here in just a little bit when we talk to our top 3. But Kevin King, interestingly enough, still sitting in 10th. He's up a couple positions, 7 positions from where he restarted, and those tires are really screaming like a fiddle in the band, Evan.
And listen, and they're certainly, I think, hot as well. You talk about the track temp and the outside temp comparatively. This surface does keep itself cooler than you would see if it was an asphalt surface. It's, I say, only 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but it certainly does race very different than it would if that was an asphalt surface. We'd be talking about 120, 130 when you got an outside temp of 85 degrees Fahrenheit and 44% as well on the humidity index. So it is helpful to the tires, but when you're racing side by side, we've seen a lot of that. You're certainly eating away at them, and these drivers have been doing everything they can on both runs of this race, being 40 plus laps in distance. They've learned a lot about what their tires can and cannot take, but to be honest, at this juncture, I don't know how many of them are playing it easy anymore. 10 laps to go from Nashville. Nieto's race lead down to 0.3 of a second over Michael Laraya. Is he going to be able to get there to the end? It looks like a 2-horse race because Joseph Tice in third, still about a second off.
Well, to quote a good country song, it may have a little bit of different words in it. If you're going to play in Nashville, you got to have some tires on the car, right? And right at this moment, it doesn't look like Sam Nieto has much tires left. He's scrubbing a little bit more and more when he dives down to the apron. And that's why I said earlier, do not go down there, because all you're doing is you're taking laps off of him. Laraya is there, and it's all because that extra little turn scrubbing speed off the car. You're not gaining anything by going down to that apron, but how hard is Sam Nieto going to block? How hard will he defend this position? He wants another win. He wants to go back to back, but it's going to look like an outside move's going to have to happen down here with under 10 to go.
And time is running short, but he is there. Michael Laraya with the closing speed, probably going to get 1, maybe 2 looks at Sam Nieto. So can he make it count? He's got the run, off it into 3, but doesn't go for it yet, stays in line. And listen, Sam Nieto's not somebody that's going to be easily coaxed into a mistake. If you're Michael Laraya, you're going to need to set him up, and even just getting under him or alongside him is not going to be enough to guarantee a look at the race lead. So Laraya is going to need to be methodical about this one, and if they start fighting side by side, I know I said it's a 2-horse race, but that 0.9 of a second gap back to Tice can close quick if your race leaders get on each other's door.
Yeah, somewhere George Jones is smiling hard when he wrote the race is on, because the race is on for the win. They're coming to 6 to go. Laraya pushed. He pushed hard out of 4, got back on the gas in the front end, did not want to go with him. That's the first time today, Evan, we've seen somebody do that, to where the moment he hits the gas, the back 2 tires didn't really want to go with the front. And that was surprising because the track temp's hot. You would think that the rear would turn the car more, but the front didn't want to go, knocked it down to 0.3, and now all that he gained, he has to do it again. He lost it all there, but here he goes through 3 and 4. He knocks it down to almost 0.2 even, gets a great run as they come to the straightaway with 5 to go.
And 2 very different stories you're watching to play out right now for Sam Nieto, locked into the playoffs after his first career win 2 weeks ago at Gateway. Very different for Michael Laraya. He comes into tonight 17th in the playoff standings, 1 spot out of a playoff berth, still looking for a race win in 2022. The 44 needs it more than the 2, but can he will his way through? This time by 4 laps to go.
Yeah, he's going to have to work really hard here. This is going to be an opportunity you're not going to get to the bottom. Nieto's not going to let you go down, though, and dig to his driver's side. You're going to have to go to the outside. You're going to have to pinch him down. You're going to have to get on his door. Now, will he make that move? How aggressive will Laraya be here? Because you talked about championship points. Yeah, it's easy. You can move the guy, go get yourself locked into the playoffs, but, well, it's a good points day. You don't want to throw yourself out of it. He's there. It's under 0.1 of a second. Can he make it work?
Lariah looking for his first race win since October of 2020 at the Kansas Speedway. Thought he had him there. Nieto still defends. The number 2 Cobra Ford Mustang trying to limp his way back as the pressure continues to come from the 44 Chevrolet. But where's Lariah going to go? Where is he going to find that speed? Looking to the outside off of 4. Can't carry the momentum, though. Nieto's going to go down all the way to the apron to block now with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, he's going to have to move him. I don't normally progressively want somebody to move him, but he's going to have to do something. He moves to the outside lane. That's not a good move so far as he loses a 1/10.5 of a second right there. He's going to have to gain it back, but he might be a dollar or two short here to this race because 3 and 4 has been his playground. And I don't think it's going to be enough here. I think back-to-back wins for Sam Nieto is in the horizon here.
We talk so much as the white flag is in the air and 1 lap to go from Nashville Super Speedway. We talked how big last week out was for Sam Nieto in his 3rd season of competition in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. He was finally able to break in after 64 starts to victory lane for the very first time. And as Lariah is going to come up just a little bit short, Sam Nieto will go back-to-back. He hangs on and wins the High Banks Podcast 200 at Nashville.
Oh, what a race. This makes whoever watching, I hope this made him proud. Sam Nieto, he had the hot streak. He come in with the win in hand, and he knew when to hold him and knew when to fold him. And he's walking away at the end of this as a race winner again.
And just what a response is out of fuel across the start-finish line. Rabel coasting to the checkered flag. I was using Rabel as a reference point on how far could some of these drivers go to the end of the race, and Rabel goes 72 to the end. But Sam Nieto celebrates. He was 0 for 63 to start his Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series career, and now he has won back-to-back races and becomes only the 2nd multi-time race winner this year alongside Brandon Six.
Got to find the hot streak, Evan. You got to find the hot streak, and right now that 2's on 1. I don't know about Road America, but I'd hate to be the competition because he has found something about this next-gen car, and I don't think he's going to let this one go for a while.
He celebrates on the front straightaway. This winning moment is brought to you by the High Banks Podcast. And as he parks it and he'll get out and celebrate, let's take a look top to bottom at tonight's K-List Synthetics full race results. The race win to Sam Nieto, and how about a flat-out motorsports 1, 2, 3. Impressive fashion for the team leading the championship standings by only 3 points. It'll get a big boost tonight. Nieto the winner, Lariah 2nd, Tice 3rd. We'll talk with all of them in just a few moments. They finish ahead of Andrew Freenosh at 4th, Nick Silver 5th, with Agno, Phillip, Cody Harris, Michael Johnson, Brandon 6th, and Jeremy Miller, your top 10.
Yeah, looking back here at 11th, you got defending race winner Brandon Bowie rounded into the 11th place position. Kevin King couldn't rebound from that untimely caution, comes in at 12th. Riley Grant Davis in 13th. Connor Horn, Bradley Burke, Sean Casto, Brian Chambliss, Ross Cato, Kyle Trudell, and Timothy Johnston rounding out the top 20.
And continuing on down through your running order, Anthony DeBarro comes home 21st, Tom Wetmore 22nd, with Thomas George, Rhett McBride, and Jaron Weinmaster, your top 25. We didn't talk much about many of those guys, but Otzi Major 26th, Chris Rabel drops 10 to 27th, with Shane Ewing, William Schmidt, and Eric Stanford, your top 30.
You're rounding out the rest of your field here, multi-laps down or 1 lap down. Daniel Eberhardt did not have the race that he wanted here, untimely missing a pit stall. Michael Kaczynski in 32nd, David Cobb, Tom Morano, Sean Kalist, Nicholas Cohen, and Harry Grindell did not start in 37th position. it's tough for Daniel. He's got to do something here.
It is a tough end for him. That's a look top to bottom at your Kayla Synthetics full race results. Kayla Synthetics is an independent dealer of AMSOIL lubricants serving the United States and Canada, providing custom engine lubrication solutions to all types of customers, from private individuals to race teams, hauling fleets, and everything in between. They have the products and expertise to help you save time and money. Kayla Synthetics, dealer number 300-71815. Let's head down to Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series Victory Lane, where we are stood by with the driver of the number 2 machine, the driver out of Gallipolis, Ohio. His second win in a row. Sam Nieto is tonight's winner in the High Banks Podcast 200. And Sam, I'll tell you what, something about getting the monkey off your back now, back-to-back Cup Series wins.
Hey man, last week I learned that winning was fun, apparently, and I decided I'd like to do it again. Last week was a Mickey Mouse win, and I had to earn this one.
This one was certainly hard fought. Tell us more about it. You started up towards the front of the field in 5th, quickly started to make a couple of passes, and after Agnew Phillip dominated for the first quarter of the race, you took the race lead, and I want to say never looked back, but not true, right? You got caught out on a yellow. Agnew was able to retake the race lead from that point, and then you had to play catch-up once more, not only having to pass him a second time, but then holding off a hungry Michael Araya for the final 20.
Yeah, man, Michael was fast. Yeah, that caution it might have saved me from doing something dumb on pit road, but I didn't want to see it. But yeah, I had to battle Andrew and Agnell to get the lead, and then I wanted to just kind of drive away. But man, Michael, he's really good. He's really good here, and we practiced together, so I knew what he had. I knew he was going to be able to track me down. I just didn't know if I was going to be able to hold him off, but I'm glad I did.
Obviously, the immediate story is going to be the fact that, of course, you've got 2 race wins now in the blink of an eye. But I think just the general trends for you guys have been positive. In the couple of races leading up to your race win, you had an average finish in the single digits. Now you've got 2 wins in a row. You're only the second driver to have multiple race wins in 2022. What have you learned? What has been the difference? I mean, we know that across the field, this car is still a learning process. Have things started to click recently, or what's been the difference maker?
Yeah, I think so. I really struggled at Charlotte, so I watched some other guys, how they drive it, and that's when the light bulb for me came on. I was doing it wrong, so I don't really want to tell exactly what it is, but yeah, to answer your question, I learned something, and it's definitely helping. I don't feel like I was slow. I guess it just, man, I'm just good on some tracks and not good on some tracks. So throughout the course of a season, it might be hit or miss. But yeah, I definitely picked up a little bit of something.
And we'll see how well you guys are able to carry that momentum in through the rest of the season. Will it carry over next week as the road side of the calendar continues to roll on? We're going to go racing at Road America. It's going to be the second time it falls on the calendar here in the Cup Series. What's the outlook for that one coming off of all of the success recently?
I will not be three-peating. I'll be lucky to get a top 10. I'll be happy with a top 10.
Well, hey, top 10 sounds like a good night in points. And, of course, wasn't really any doubt before, but I think now all of a sudden you've thrust your name to the very top of the championship conversation. Only driver, I mentioned 2-time race winner, second driver to win multiple races in a year, but the first driver to get 2 in a row here this season. So we'll let you get out of here and celebrate. I assume it's going to be a great celebration with the team as well, because you guys lock out the podium here this evening, Sam. But before we do, as always, the sponsors and the shout-outs. Who makes it happen for you?
Yeah, how about that? 1, 2, 3 for Flat Out. We put in a pretty good week of practice. Like to thank those boys. Boosted being on the car. Thank you, Tom. Justin with another beautiful scheme, and I've got some more coming down the pipe. I'll have a new one next week. Hopefully it's not battered. Right turns are pretty hard.
Well, we'll see how the Cobra can handle the rights and the lefts. But at least for tonight, congratulations on the win, Sam. Enjoy it, and we'll talk with you next week.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
It's a race winner tonight for the virtual Nashville Super Speedway, two-time RSR winner. How about it for Sam Nieto? Of course, I mentioned how well of a night it was for the Flat Out Motorsports gang. Terry, they took the team championship lead last week, and they will build on that tonight. Michael Lariah comes home second. You're with him.
Sure did. Lariah, you finally get to talk to me. What's up, man?
Man, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. I'm so happy to finally get another top 5 this season.
Well, that Sim Speed Shot machine looked really good out there. 1, 2, 3 for your teammates. What was it like battling him? You know, obviously you needed the win, being 1 point out coming into the race. You were 1 spot out, coming into the race. No team orders, I take it, because he walks off with the win. Walk me through why you decided to go to the outside lane there in 3 and 4, and what did it do to the car?
So the thing is with Sam and I being teammates, we practice heavily every week for these races, and we know each other's driving styles better than anyone. And just based on what we were finding in our week of practice, Sam is excellent with hitting his marks and wrapping the bottom and both ends of the track. So I knew it was going to be really tough to get under him. So I was kind of getting a little bit desperate there. I figured I had to try something there and see if maybe I could drive it in a little bit deeper on the outside, hopefully pinch him down and maybe make something of it. But he didn't mess up enough, and he hit his marks there. So just one of those things, you got to try something at the end, and it just didn't pay off. But I'm extremely proud of this group as a whole. I mean, we've had speed for weeks now. It's just getting the whole group to have some good racing luck. Unfortunately, I was joking with my teammates. I got to thank them. The Mara brothers, I've had after the turns on the car for a while, and unfortunately we've had speed, but we've just ran into some awful luck, and I think that car is cursed. So as soon as I jump back to Sim Speed Shop, we get a P2. So I kind of hate it for the Mara brothers, but I definitely need some good runs here.
Well, hey, put a little sticker on the back for them or something, maybe see what they can do. But you obviously come into the race and you know that you have to drive harder because you are outside the playoffs, and you have Road America, Pocono, Atlanta, places like that coming up. Is there anything that really catches your eye on the schedule that goes, hey, this is my chance to win this race, or, just a good points night overall, especially for the team? Take over the point standings for team. What are you going to do to get yourself into the playoffs, and who is going to be your biggest competition to get into the playoffs?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think coming up, as far as looking at the schedule, Road America is a place I see I could get a solid top 10 finish. I think moving on where I'm sitting right now, I don't necessarily need to throw Hail Marys, but I definitely need to start clicking off some consistent top 10 finishes. Top 5s are certainly the way to go, too, if possible. But I think in the near future, maybe a place that I could see myself contending for a win, it would definitely be Atlanta. That's if we're going to the old track and not the new one, if iRacing brings that out. I feel like that's definitely one of my stronger tracks on the schedule. So I'm looking for a really good run there. To be honest, I'm not even really sure who's around me in points. I've really just been thinking about I need to just start running better in general and just kind of let the finishes, do the work for me. So it's really just having a mindset of clicking off some top 10s here throughout the summer. But tonight was such a good shot in the arm. Our team is coming to these races extremely well prepared. And it's just awesome to have a 1, 2, 3 for Flat Out.
Yeah, man. Well, I tell you what, I'm a big wrestling fan, so I'll give you 20 seconds to give your best sponsor promo that you've ever given in your life.
All right, everybody. Right now, go to Sim Speed Shop, get your button boxes, get any kind of shifters you want, anything for steering wheels. They're the place to go. So go right there right now.
I like it. I'm telling you, we could have a whole crew of wrestler promos coming out here together. But all right, Mr. Leray, good job on P2 here tonight. We're going to go talk to your teammate down there, Mr. Joseph.
All right. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I got to go get the driver of the 5 come up here. All right, Joseph, you come home P3 here tonight. This is obviously Terry in the booth. Finally get to talk to you two on that 5 machine. It looked really good tonight. 1, 2, 3 for Flat Out Motorsports. Didn't have the speed there at the end, but what could you have done different on that restart to pick something up there?
Well, I battled Andrew really hard there for about 4 or 5 laps, and that probably didn't help my tires any. And so I think, if I could have got around him quick, but I mean, Andrew's a good guy. You're not going to get around him quick. So that may have been the only thing, and just saving a little bit more tire towards the end, because about 12 laps to go, I just kind of cliffed it and couldn't get any closer.
Well, what do you think coming into this race would have been the storyline if you had to just put a blindfold on, you never ran the race before, with the next gen car on this surface? What were you looking coming into? Were you picturing a top 3, or was maybe that wasn't in the cards and hey, you just came out here and had just pure speed to go out here and do it?
No, I mean, this definitely wasn't in any kind of prognostication I would have had. I've been, kind of running 10th to 15th all season, and had a string of bad luck here and finishing bad. And so, I kind of got to where I didn't really even want to practice and just kind of got frustrated. But I practiced this week and put in the work, and here, lo and behold, I am. So I'm pretty proud of this result. This is, I think, the best race of the season by far. First time I get to talk to you guys. So I'm definitely excited. This kind of bumps me up a little bit.
Man, you kind of got screwed out of talking to us, because normally I normally get this interview. I don't normally get second. You could have had Evan. I think that would have been, would you have been happier with Evan, or are you good with me?
Hey, I'm talking to somebody in the booth. I don't really care. I mean, I'm getting interviewed. That's a positive for me. I don't care who, I like all you guys.
That's what I like to hear. But all right, you're going to a road course next week. Obviously, Road America being the second time on the schedule. Any particular part of that track that you're looking at that's going, man, I can execute this portion that could potentially elevate you into the win? And how much practice are you going to have to put in to turn left and right? It's obviously we're all used to just turning left.
Whew, yeah. Road courses, I'm pretty decent at. I'm not going to say I'm great, but, I'm pretty decent at. And obviously, I'll put in a lot of work. The straightaways, I'm really good at. It's those twisty turns that I've got to work on this week. So I'll definitely put in a lot of work. And, again, I'm just kind of right now shooting for top 10s. And this 3rd place, was well above my expectations, but I'm so happy. I was, watching my teammates up there battling, and I was just like, well, I got the best seat in the house.
I don't think I've ever heard somebody tell me they only like the straightaways on a road course. But all right, I'll tell you the same thing I told your teammate there. I'm a big wrestling fan. You got 20 seconds to give me your best sponsor promo of all time.
All right. Thank the Flat Out Boys. These guys are awesome. Got to thank Boosted for being on the car. Thank you guys at the broadcast booth. I love talking to you. I hope I do this more often. Thank Evan. He does a really great job, puts on a great league. The talent in this league is I would say, top notch next to just about anything. And last but not least, to thank my wife for giving me a couple hours every Monday night to come hang out, have fun, and see what I can do.
All right, I'll say that was the best promo out of you 3 because, you mentioned your wife. But all right, Joseph, good run tonight, P3. We'll see you at Road America next week.
All right, you guys take care. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, sir. Well, Evan, back to you.
Well, tell you what, Flat Out Motorsports owns the night very clearly here. Big thanks to Sam, to Michael, and to Joseph for all talking with us this evening. And listen, a good time of the year to get hot is now, and Sam Nieto, one of the hardest working guys in the series, again competing in his 3rd season of the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, goes 0 for 63 and now is 2 for 2 That is quite the impressive stat. Just looking at the old-time wins list, there are only, of the total number of 84 drivers to have won a race in this series, only 46 of them have ever won 2. And he's ahead of names like Adam de Blasio, Michael Cozy Jr., Kevin King, Parker Kligerman, and others. So quite impressive, I would say, company for Sam Nieto. And of course, the big thing is, not that it was in doubt, we mentioned earlier tonight, listen, there's guys going to be getting into the playoffs on the points no matter what. But, I mean, 2 really sticks it to him. And we said early, hey, Brandon 6 is kind of the guy to beat, right? Listen, Sam Nieto keeps this momentum up. I know he's not looking forward to the road course in Road America next week, but if he steals a couple more of these, we could be talking about a Sam Nieto being a Final 8 or Final 4 favorite.
I'm not looking to the road course either. It's not my strong suit, but I tell you what, we're going to go have a good time at Road America. This was a dang good race. I think that this is probably the second best race that we've had of the season. I would say that the All-Star race, lived up to the hype. It did everything we wanted to do at the fairgrounds. But tonight, I'm biased. All right, it's Nashville, 2 Nashville tracks, 1, 2. But we got a lot of good tracks coming up. And the summer stretch, tomorrow being the first day of summer, is a very good window of races we have here. Pocono is going to be a strong one. I expect to see Agnel Phillip and Andrew Freenage, Sam Nieto, maybe going out there and winning his 3rd race at the Pocono, the Tricky Triangle. But I'm all decked out in Tennessee stuff and country music, so I'm biased tonight. It was a hell of a race.
Something about NASCAR in Tennessee, right? So we didn't get to it during the race.
Let's see that
because, so we only had 1 yellow, right? We were talking about historical data. We're like, this is a race that had 7 yellows the last time out. It only had 1 tonight, so we didn't get to do our tire talk during the race, but I do need to reassemble the office. So we're going to go through tire talk now. So
tire.
I don't know if it's going to fit into the frame. You'll notice it's missing from, but let's get the tires out.
We'll grab some tires.
So mine's got a rim in it, so this is going to be pretty heavy. So I'm going to try
I don't
not
have
to.
The rim.
All right.
Tire. Look at beautiful tires.
This is what you're missing. Can you hear me? There we go. This is what you're missing if you're not tuned in to the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series on Monday nights.
Who's your
Not
tire
Tuesdays.
from?
So this is a tire off of Jeff Gordon's number 24 car from his last career race at the Homestead of Miami Speedway. The COA is on the back. However, I couldn't find a Hendrick Motorsports rim. So the rim is like the most random one I could find. RAB Racing.
Very nice.
from the 29 in the 99 car. So I had to find something to fit it. When I was in auto shop class in high school, we took this into the shop, put it on like you would any normal tire, glued some lugs on. I don't remember who the lugs are from. The lugs might be from like Jimmy Johnson in one race. So it's a bit of like a hodgepodge of NASCAR history here. But it always sits in the table just at a shot. It is heavy with the rim in it and it's part of the office decor. So it also makes me feel really short. Like I'm short enough as is. It's just dwarfing me sitting on my knees. So yeah, that's tire talk for this episode.
It's better get clipped by somebody.
Just roll it out of shot. Roll it out of shot.
We throw we have a proverbial script every single race that we do. We just throw it out the window. We
delete the Google Doc.
Who cares? We just bring tires out and talk it. Who cares? I had a hat talk at one point. We got tire talk. We need your hat collection too.
We'll do that. Some. We can do die-cast talk. We'll do hat talk. So listen, if you're not tuning in on Monday nights, this is what you're missing. Till next time, listen, we always got to leave them wanting more. So that is it for us here tonight from the virtual Nashville Super Speedway on behalf of our entirely professional team here at RaceSpotTV, Real Sim Racing. For our sponsors tonight, big thanks to the High Banks Podcast, to Kayla Synthetics, and for your team tonight. For our producer, Zach Johnson, for Terry Radford, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Sam Nieto, who is now a 2-time RSR winner. The action, though, continues next Monday night on June the 27th for the virtual Road America. That race and every race of the 2022 Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series can be found exclusively right here on RaceSpot TV. Till next time, good night from Nashville.